So, hello everyone. I'm Tableen Batra, and I'm sure the ones from Calcutta must be familiar with me, must have seen me around there. I was a coach there. And today we're doing this live session addressing the common faults and fixes we come across in the game. And we will begin with let's say, the faults one may encounter before hitting a shot, during the shot, while swinging the club. So I will be addressing on all those aspects. To begin with, like I said, let's start with the common tendencies and faults we, especially us as coaches, we see in players very, very commonly are to begin with the grip, right? So we all are familiar with the terms of weak grip and a strong grip. Simply put, weak grip is one in which, for a right-handed player, the left, once we place the left hand, so there are less than two knuckles visible on top. What the weak grip does is it leads to an open face, which further leads to the ball missing to the right. Of course, this again for a right-handed player. Conversely, we also have something called a strong grip. So strong, of course, does not mean in terms of the strength, the tightness here, the firmness. It just simply a term used to describe the grip where more than two knuckles of the left hand are visible on top of the grip. Now, what does the strong grip do? As we, as I said earlier, a weak grip leads to an open face, whereas a strong grip leads to a face that tends to close earlier. Hence, the ball tends to miss to the left. Now, what to achieve a neutral grip? The ideal thing we'd like to see is just about two knuckles place of the left hand on top of the club. So we can either check in terms of the two knuckles of the left hand, or also to the V pointing, the V formed between the thumb and the index finger. That should ideally point somewhere between your right shoulder and your chin. A neutral grip leads to much lesser compensations in the swing and leads to a much consistent ball striking and, of course, a consistent swing pattern. Another common fault that we see is just simply the distance from the ball. How far do you stand from the ball? A lot of times there are players who are standing too close, which restricts their ability to swing freely. Also, there are players who stand too far from the ball, which again all this leads to off center strikes and again limiting your ability to swing. Ideal distance from the ball, we want the arms hanging down straight down your shoulder line and not too far, not too close to your legs. This also then helps us and our arms to relax and then, of course, swing more freely and easily. There's another good way, I make my players do to judge the exact distance from the ball, which is, you just simply place one hand between the club and your leg. So you measure that and it should not exceed that, or it should not be lesser than that. This always gives us a good idea, especially while we are practicing and when we're hitting ball after ball. So that is a time where one may fall into some bad patterns. Checking this, ensuring every time that these, especially these fundamentals are in place, will help you a lot of trouble later on. Then a very, very important factor is simply the aim and alignment. Aiming is where you're aiming in terms of the target you're hitting at. We want to, how many times have we seen on the course that we've hit a perfect shot, but then we end up missing it right or left of the target, and then being reminded that it was just simply because we were aiming incorrectly. So here we aren't even rewarded for a good shot. In fact, we are punished. And if you think, it is pretty silly. So we have to be very, very sure that we are aiming correctly at the target every time. You've seen a lot of players, if you watch golf on TV, a lot of them go behind the ball, check the line. They're also visualizing the shot. Some of them like to find a point immediately in front of the ball, and then they align themselves to that point. This, when you break down the target from about 200 yards to something which is just 2 inches in front of you, that does help in improving your accuracy in aiming towards the target. Also, aiming is equally important, not just on the course, but also equally important when we're practicing at the range. Again, we are hitting hundreds of balls standing there in one spot. Sometimes we like to change the club. Sometimes we're just sticking to one club and hitting 30, 40 balls with the same club from the same spot. And there it's very easy for us to then lose sight of where we are aiming at. It's very important to make sure that we have a sense of direction while we're practicing, so that then if the ball is reacting in a certain way, let's say it's going to the right or left, we know that, okay, is it because of the aim or because of something we are doing in the swing? Because here again, we as players are very easy to blame ourselves, to doubt ourselves that, okay, maybe I am doing something wrong in the swing, that the ball is not going at the target. But in actuality, it could be that you're just aiming there. So that is really important. And like I said, with aim comes the alignment. So in alignment, we're actually talking about the alignment of our shoulders, our hips, and our feet. Ideally, if you're trying to hit a ball straight at the target, we want all these three alignments to be parallel to each other, to be called a square alignment. Uh, and so we have in the alignment, we also have something called an open and or a closed stance. Now, what does that mean? So a lot of times when we've addressed the ball, when we're standing on the ball, if we see that our shoulders are pointing left of the target instead of pointing parallel to it, it is called an open stance. Now, what does an open stance do? It leads to a swing path which is out to in, and that further affects the trajectory of the shot. Similarly, talking about the closed stance, there we have the shoulder, the left shoulder or the leading shoulder pointing right of the target. As opposed to an open stance, a closed stance leads to an into out swing path, which mostly leads to a draw or a hook, depending on what we do with the club face. So these four factors are really important to keep in mind when we're playing on the course or practicing. Solid foundation and ensuring that these basic principles are in place is imperative to a good swing and to a good shot. Now, moving on to some of the in swing factors. Let's start with just what the ball does and trying to cure that. So let's start with a very common miss in golf, which is the slice. A lot of amateurs out there and other players, they tend to slice the ball. Now, what is a slice? Simply a ball which starts straight or right of the target and then finishes even more right. So that curvature of left to right on the ball is called a slice. We want our balls to go straight at the target, land straight where we are aiming at. But when we have misses like these, it is something to think about. Now, what causes a slice? A slice is caused by a path, a swing path, which is out to in. Now, here out to in talking about, I'm referring to the downswing, which is more out to in instead of being a neutral in square in path. An out to in swing path with a club face which is slightly open to the path leads to that difference and imparts that curvature to the shot. To fix this, so there are so let's talk about what the common fixes could be for a slice. To begin with, simply like earlier we were speaking about the grip. A lot of times we see that a weak grip leads to an open face, hence being one of the biggest reason why the ball curves to the right. So at first, the very first checkpoint for you to be should be that you check your left hand grip and ensure that there are two knuckles visible, or maybe 2.5 would also do if you want to cure a slice. If you see that there is just one knuckle visible, you be rest assured that the reason for the slice is your grip. Another factor, like I just mentioned, that it could be either your path or your club face. Now, to fix the path, which is out to in, there are a lot of drills out there which you could be doing. Simply to get the path more into out, you could just place a box. We have those long box in which you get your golf clubs. So place it pointing more to the right, outside of the ball, and try to swing along that. So that would encourage you to swing more into out, hence curing that path. Now, to get the club face square, we would like to see two things. One, at impact, that your back of the left hand should be aiming at the target. If the back of the left hand, we all wear gloves on our left hand. So if we see that the logo of the glove is pointing up towards the sky, that means that the face is open. So deliberately try to ensure that the back of your left hand is pointing to the target at impact. You could start with some slow motion, just at impact, check it before you actually transfer it in your actual swing. Also, another very important factor which a lot of people miss when they are slicing a golf shot is simply what we do post impact, the release of the club face. When we hold on to the club, which is still open, that leads to a slice. We have to ensure that we let the left forearm rotate and release the club, ensuring that the ball starts straight and it goes straight. It matches with our path, hence curing the slice. Also, I would encourage, if anyone has some questions, please drop them in. Now, Slice's best friend is a hook. So to cure that, so it's just completely opposite principles. In Slice, we saw that the path was out to in. Here in Hook, we have a path which is excessively into out with a shut club face, leading to that curvature from the right to left. Uh, so for the to fix the path, we can still use the same drill with the box. Here we'll intend to keep the box pointing more to the left. That would encourage us to swing more towards the left, more out to in rather than into out. That would block it, and it would also give us the feedback. Also, with this excessive closing of the club face, to hold on to we need to ensure that we are not overly rotating or using our wrists. Sorry. So we need to ensure that post impact, we're still extending with our arms and holding onto the club face instead of the arms overpowering and letting it rotate. Another one common fault we see is a straight out push, a block shot, which we may also call. So what is a push shot? A shot which simply just starts straight and goes straight. It barely has any curvature on that. It just starts straight of it starts right of the target and keeps going there, and you miss it on the right. So what leads to a push shot again is an excessively into out club path with a more or less neutral and square club face. So to fix that, we will again use the same drill to fix we used to fix the slice, ensuring that the club path is very neutral. It's not going excessively into out. Also, we see players who block it to the right with a really aggressive lower body turn. So in the downswing, it is a lower body turning and spinning out really fast, making the upper body lag behind, sometimes also a hang back, sometimes also leading to a slide. All that leads to the club coming from the inside, feeling stuck there, and then leading to the ball starting straight out right. Again, the opposite of it, coming to, let's talk about what is a pull shot. Pull is simply a shot which starts left of the target and goes straight to the left. Now, same principles apply here of the club path, which we discussed in a hook shot, which is an out to in path we need to fix. Here, we see players whose lower body is not doing enough job, and it is solely from their upper body, which they're and their hands basically they're trying to fire. That leads to a path going to the left. Hence, the ball goes straight out left. So for someone who tends to pull the shots, we'd like to see them that they're rotating properly, sequencing. So for both, actually for all these four misses, a slice, a hook, a pull, and a push, what we really want is a good sequence in the downswing. Now, what is a good sequence? It starts from ground up. Once we are there in the position, we'd first like our lower body to turn towards the target, our hips moving towards the target, followed by our torso, followed by our shoulders, arms, and then lastly, the club face. If you follow this correct sequence, you will never go wrong. It will ensure that you have some good ball striking and also get some great, you'll never suffer from the direction. Coming to next, the most rather dreaded shot in golf, which is a shank. So a shank is simply a shot. How it is caused really? It is caused when someone strikes the shot with when the ball is struck from the heel of the club, either the heel side or also sometimes when it's too strong, it could be struck from the hosel of the club. Now that leads to a shot with a very funny sound, with a very funny expressions you get from the people around you, and you just see the ball go straight out right. Now, since I just addressed that the reason it happens is when we strike the club more towards the heel. So to fix that, There's another, so to fix that, understand what could be the possible causes of it. Number one, I would like to mention is how we address to the ball. A lot of times we see players who are standing too close to the ball. Now, what that does is, while coming down in the downswing, there's barely any space left for your arms to swing, and that leads to the club pushing more outwards, hence introducing the heel of the club to the ball instead of the center of the face. Now, to correct that, we simply like to ensure that we're standing at the correct distance from the ball. Again, a factor which we mentioned earlier. So here, it is not just that you stand close to the ball that would lead to a shank. It's also important that you're not standing too far either, because then that would also lead you to move forward in the downswing, again introducing the heel of the club to the ball. There's one really good drill I make my players do to stop their shanks. Is you just simply put another ball, you can find another ball, a wood cover, whatever you would like, and place it just outside the ball you're about to hit, so it acts like a barrier outside on the in front of you. And when you place the club, it's just barely touching the toe of the club. Now when you hit this ball, which is more closer to you, you will have to ensure that you hit from either the center or more towards the toe of the club. Otherwise you'll end up hitting both the shots, and that is why we have created that barrier, to ensure that you miss out the ball which is there on the outside and hit the one on the inside. Trust me, it's a brilliant drill. It is very easy yet very, very effective. Moving on, let's there's this another fault we see a lot of amateurs, beginners, even kids for that matter, doing is skying their drivers. What is a sky driver? You must have seen a lot of times, you hit the driver, it just pops up straight up in the air and barely goes any distance. And you can tell that you did not strike it well. There was something funny about it. So yes, whenever we sky the driver, it is always when we hit on the crown of the club head, on the top part. So you would also see a little, the ball leaving a little mark on top of the club. So then that gives you an idea that, okay, yes, it was a bad strike, and that led to the sky drive. So now what causes a sky drive is basically just when you're coming too steep into the ball, when you're trying to hit your driver just like your iron, you're using too much force, you're trying to hit the driver really far, but then you end up coming in too steep, causing that blow to the shot, and then it ends up going nowhere. Instead, and that also what it does, it leads to your body moving ahead of the ball. So that again is a factor that leads to the steepening of the club in the downswing. Now, for having said all this, to cure this, we would like to see that at impact, firstly, let's begin with, we're not really trying to hit it too hard. We would like to stay behind the ball and swing it easy. We're just trying to sweep it up in the air instead of the club hitting down on the ground. You're not really, you're not really chopping the club onto the ground. You're simply trying to sweep it up. I forgot to mention another cause for skying the driver, which is the tee height. Naturally, when the tee height is too high, you will tend to catch it from the crown of the club. So ensure that the tee height is ideal. It should not be higher than than the half a ball above the club face. If it is more than that, you must check that too. So coming back to the cure for it, we would like to see that I mentioned that you really don't want to hit it too hard. So we would like to see that when you're in the downswing at impact, our center of the body, we stay behind the ball instead of moving to ahead. So now when we stay behind the ball, that would make it easier for us to simply swing it on the up instead of hitting down too steep. Another reason for it was, so basically these two you must keep in mind. Try hitting the driver more on the up and ensure that you stay behind the ball, don't move ahead of the ball. Let me check. There are some questions I'm seeing.
Yes, ma'am, there are some questions. The first one is, why do players duck 3-wood fairway shots?
Okay, so I will address fairway woods, and I'll cover that.
Another one is, for hitting fade shots, we have to We have to swing out to in, but this also causes the dreaded slice. So, how to balance between slices and fades?
Okay.
Another one is, ma'am, do you think placing the T high can also lead to the slice? And the
Okay.
last for the time being is how to increase the shoulder movement and stop sliding, and how to have a correct grip.
Okay.
These are the few questions as of now, ma'am.
Okay. So let's address these questions at the end of the session. Till then, if we have
Sure,
something
ma'am.
else, that would be addressed for the players too.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on, let's someone just mentioned about a slide. So what is the slide? A slide is simply when in the downswing, instead of the your left hip moving, rotating more backwards, it is instead moving more laterally towards the target. That, then it gives you an impression that your upper body is hanging back, and then it leads to all sort of problems. So now, and then there's also something called a sway. A sway is something similarly, very similar to what a slide is in the downswing. In the backswing, when we take the club back, instead of rotating and swinging it, remaining on one axis, remaining centered over the ball, when our upper body tends to move away from the ball, that is called a sway. So now both the sway and the slide, it uh, it does hamper the swing, and of course the contact, simply because we are not really centered over the ball. Centered, by that I mean, so we want the center of the body, a sternum, to be very very be very much in line with where the ball is placed. We don't want the distance or the gap between the your center of the body or the ball to increase or to decrease. So to maintain that, we must ensure that we are swinging correctly, rotating and turning, using our body very very efficiently. So now, to stop them both, you can use just one prop to deal with both these issues, which is an alignment stick. So what you will do is, simply for a slide, we'd like to place the alignment stick just left of our left leg, and then we can address. So we may do this first during a practice swing before we move on to actually hitting the shot. So once we place it on the left side, it has to be pretty close, like just an inch away from our left shoe. Sorry. So now, as we turn, as we rotate, we have to ensure that we don't touch our left hip to that alignment stick, and instead we turn within that stick. So that would lead to a good rotation in the hips, ensure that the left hip turns back and up the correct manner instead of moving laterally. Again, to stop the sway, we would just simply move to the other end of to the other side of the alignment stick. Now we have a right leg next to the alignment stick, and now as we take our backswing, we want to ensure that the right hip turns within that stick, and we don't really want to bump into it. So all this, both of this will ensure that you're swinging in a very centered way. I hope that helps you answer the question. And okay, so moving on. Okay, so moving on, another very good tip I have here to share is, a lot of times, you may have a swing which is technically very sound, and but you still may not end up hitting a good shot or be a very good ball striker. Why? Simply because you have a very inconsistent tempo, which also means the speed at which you take the club back and bring it down when you hit the ball. We would like to ensure that this tempo is very, very rhythmic. If we're going back on a certain speed, we'd like to match the downswing to that speed. It's not that we're taking it back slowly and then really rushing down to hit the ball in order to hit it far. No, that will lead to some issues in the swing, bad sequencing, and you can never be consistent with that. So to be a consistent player, a consistent ball striker, we need a consistent tempo in the swing. A lot of players use the tempo of 1001, 1002. So that is great to, and it acts as a good swing thought for you while you stand over the ball as well. So you're not really thinking of any, you're not really worried of where the ball is going or what other 100 other things you could do in the swing. You're just thinking of a nice, easy tempo and letting that work and letting that give you the desired result. So, like I mentioned, the 1001, 1002, when you're starting the backswing, start with the word 1001. As you're at the 1, you should be at the top of the swing. As you're starting the 1002, you're starting the downswing. And at the 2, I would like to see that you have finished the shot and you're holding that finish. For not for all of you out there, must ensure that the tempo is correct and give it a shot. It will really, really help you. Then we have another very common issue we see out there is that of early extension. What is early extension? It is when in the downswing, your hips tend to move closer to the ball. The distance between where you were at when you started the shot and to where you are at impact has decreased. You have moved closer to the shot, and then again the various things that it can do to the shot. So now to cure that, very simple drill. If you're out there on the course, you can just simply pick up your golf bag and put it behind you. Start with your right hip touching the golf bag and ensuring that when you're starting the downswing, even then your left hip stays on the back and not moves ahead. So this will give you a feeling of staying back, maintaining that gap between you and the ball, and ensuring that you then from there turn correctly, you deliver the club to the ball correctly, and strike the ball well. You must have seen a lot of players also doing drills. You could do this drill indoor as well, just simply standing next to the wall and ensure that when you're taking the backswing, your right hip touches the ball, and as you're starting the downswing in the transition, your hips are still against the wall. It should not have moved away from the ball closer to your ball. Moving on, we have another very, very common fault, and that is of topping or thinning the shots. So this makes me also want to address the very, very common reason a lot of your co-players might come up with when you top a shot, which is simply that you raised your head up, you looked up too soon. But let me tell you, more often than not, you haven't looked up too soon. Your eyes were still down on the ball. The reason could have been something else for you to have topped the shot. So to begin with, what causes you to thin the shot? Starting with the number one factor, it could simply be the ball position. Sometimes when the ball position is too far forward, we tend to, the low. So there's something called the low point in your swing. It tends to be behind the ball, and then as you impact the ball, you tend to then top it. So always ensure that you have the desired ball position with every club. Let's say for a 7-iron, if the good ball position is supposed to be just one ball ahead of center to the left of center, and for a driver it is within, just in line with the left heel, and so on and so forth with each and every club, you must always ensure that the ball position is intact. It won't just ensure that you don't top it, you don't duff it, but it will ensure that you catch the ball, you really hit the ball well every time. And I'm just going to have a water. Another reason why you may be topping the shot is simply that you're not transferring your weight correctly. You may, so we know that what is weight transfer, that when we take the backswing, our pressure, the weight moves onto our right leg. And as we start the downswing, it starts moving to the left leg. Now, it may have happened that, it is going and moving to your right in the backswing, but you're not able to transfer it to the left efficiently. So then that again leads to you striking the ball on the top of it instead of really delivering the club under the ball. Also, the same point gets me to mention that we may be, like we spoke about our center of the body, the slide and the sway. So a very possible reason could be that in the backswing, we are again moving away from the wall. Maybe, as we are taking the weight to our right, it is our center of the body and our head also, which is moving back to the right. So here again, ensuring that we are very, very centered on the ball, not moving away, maintaining our posture. We know that when we start the golf shot, we take a certain posture where our spine is bent forward. Now we need to ensure that the spine remains bent forward. We maintain that angle throughout our backswing. If we happen to get up, that would lead to us, the center of the body moving away, and then again in the downswing, then you either have to make some compensation. If you don't, you will happen to strike on the top of the ball. So these 3-4 things you must check the next time you end up topping a shot. Someone asked me about the 3 wood, and yes, the most common fault, or let's say the most common kind of shot we see, a bad shot with the 3 wood or any other fairway wood, is that we end up topping it. Now, why does that happen? So the topping of the club is really a result of, we see the a club which has a suddenly a bigger head than our iron, our 7 iron, which we were hitting previously, and now we really want to hit it far. We're standing on a par 3, which is, which we think we can easily reach on 2, and then we just get too excited and we really try to smash the hell out of the ball. So no, that would then lead to various things. Simply you would just use too much power, too much force. Your body and your arm muscles would tighten, and would lead to a bad tempo, and then would lead to a very, very steep blow to the ball in the downswing, hence leading to a topped shot. Now, here, what we'd like to see simply is that, so instead of going your 100% with the fairway wood, just take it easy. Go use your 80% power. Stick to a very, very good tempo, a nice and easy swing, and that will do the job for you. You'd rather sacrifice on the 10 yards, you might get lesser, but at least you'll get a good strike which is straight, and instead of missing the fairway or any sort of bad shot happening. So good easy swing with a nice tempo, 80% power is the way to go with the 3 wood. Also, here again, ensuring that the ball position is correct. Don't want the ball too much forward or too much back. So if the ball is too forward, again, the low point is of the swing is behind the ball, that ends up us staying back and then trying to top the ball. So ensure a good ball position with your 3 wood, and that would do the job as well. Also, very, very important is that we turn through the shot correctly. We finish the shot. We don't want to stay back. We need to ensure that as we are turning through, as we are rotating, our weight is transferred to the lead side, to the lead leg, to our left leg for a right-handed player, and from there on, finishing the swing. We don't want to, sort of hang back and just leave the arms short of the club, short of the ball. Moving on to a shot which is again very common, is simply when a player hits behind the ball, ends up duffing the shot. So there, the possible reason for that is like similar to what we do in topping. So, the center of your body moving away from the shot, and an incorrect ball position. A lot of times, if let's say, for example, we have a 9 iron in a hand. Now, for a 9 iron, a correct ball position would be the center of your stance. Now, if we have the ball position instead of the center more towards the left foot, naturally we would end up hitting behind on the ground, because that has moved the low point of the swing arc behind it, and it would lead to then duffing the shot. So ensure that you have a good ball position. You're staying very, very centered. You're not moving away from the ball. Again, you ensure that you're transferring the weight to the left side. You're not falling back, and all this would ensure that you don't duff the shot the next time. I think we can now move on to some faults, addressing some faults in the short game. So now, to begin with, let's first talk about putting. How many of us are guilty of 3 putting in almost every round we have played? I'm sure a lot of us, and we know for a fact that we do end up paying a heavy price for it, because after hitting a beautiful 2 shots to the green, one from the tee, one from the fairway, and then if we land up 3 putting there, it does hurt. So to avoid that, now it is very, very, very important that we are a lot more focused on the speed of the putt rather than the line. So here, talking about a putt which is over 30 feet. So now the 30 footer, we see a lot of times players get caught up in the line of the putt. You may see that, okay, the green is really slopey and undulated. So you may be very fixated on just getting the right line so that you're able to hold it from there. But sadly, a more important factor with putts over 30 feet is not the line, but it is the speed. Getting an accurate speed and ensuring that you do hit some lag putt is very, very important, because you may have a line which is off by 1 or 2 feet, but if the speed is correct, at least you'll still be there in that circle or in that radius, which is easy to putt the next time. So yes, give a lot of importance to speed. Learn to read the greens well, to see if it's like an uphill or a downhill putt, how is the grain of the green, and all this will ensure that you become a good putter. Of course, not to forget, we do need a very, very consistent strike from the putter. We need a consistent stroke rather, and ensure that every time we're catching the putter from the center and not in off center hit. So that would ensure every time that we have a consistent roll instead of the ball starting offline. So that is very important. Ensure that you have worked enough on your stroke, and so that that does not cost you later. We could move on to chipping, where we see a lot of players who tend to chunk the shot. Now, why does that happen? So, in chipping, again, like long game, a lot of faults can be fixed just by a good setup. A good setup is imperative in throughout all aspects of the game, be it putting, be it chipping, be it bunker, be it driver, be it your regular 7-iron shot. Uh, so begin with, to speak a little bit about the setup in chipping, we would like to see a narrow stance, and we'd like to see that we'd like the weight favoring our lead side. Let's say, normally when we stand, our weight is 50-50 divided between our left and our right leg. Here in chipping, we like to see more like a 60-40, where 60% it is on your lead side on uh, and 40 on the right. And here again, we'd like to ensure that it's not like a long game where we're trying to swing the club back fully. And so we need to ensure that here it is even more important to remain centered over the ball. We don't have to really transfer the weight to the right and then bring it back to the left as we finish. We do need to turn and pivot correctly, but ensuring that we remain very centered. A lot of times we see players, who get their weight to their right, who move away from the ball, and then that leads to you either chunking the shot or sometimes even duffing it. So centeredness and a good setup. Another very important thing, since we were speaking about chunking the shots, is how we align the club. What is the position of the club? How are we holding it in terms of the shaft and our hands? So if we have our hands too far ahead of the ball, that would lead to the shots which we end up chunking, just simply because we have this leading edge of the club. It tends to contact the ground. It tends to dig in, and it hampers us from using the bounce of the club. So to ensure that we're chipping well, we have to use the bounce of the club, which is on the sole of the club. We could get into the details next time. Moving on from just the technical aspects, we spoke a lot about what we need to do in the setup, in the swing, and just everything we could do to ensure that the ball goes to the target. We reduce the misses. There are other things which you could focus on when you're playing on the course to ensure that you do not drop shots unnecessarily. So now, starting with simply assessing your shot correctly. We see a lot of times this silly mistake of not calculating the yardage correctly. We have distance markers on the fairway that give us the idea. Mostly, on most of the golf courses, they are to the edge of the green, but then we fail to add, let's say, how far back the pin position is, or whether the green is at a certain elevation, or what the wind conditions are, what the weather condition is. So all those factors really go in, and you must assess them while calculating your distance to the green, to the pin. And another very important thing to assess is simply the lie of the ball. So it's very rare that every shot that you will get on the fairway would be a perfect flat lie. A lot of times it could be, either an uphill, a downhill, or any side hill lie. So to read that and then adjust your shot accordingly, that is very, very important. um and my last advice to you would be on this, talking about assessing the shot and just preparing well for the shot on the course, is also knowing your yardages, what your accurate yardages are with each club. That is very, very important. You cannot just stand there and, with sort of a guess in your head that, okay, probably my 7 iron goes 160 or 170 yards, or something. It is good to be always accurate, so that then it just gives you a better chance to hit the ball much more closer to the pin. So that's all from my side. Now let's get on to the question and let's see how I can help you guys further.
Okay, so ma'am, should I repeat from the beginning or the new ones?
Yeah, you could
Okay,
repeat since I
so
have it up.
you spoke about slide. So there was this question. Is the stick kept vertically, like dig it into the ground or
Yeah.
something like that?
Vertically. By your
Okay.
side, vertically.
Okay. So for hitting fade shots, you said.
Oh, so the slice and the fade is basically, a very, very simple tip I can give you here is just how open you stand to the target. If you're really standing too open, that would lead to a path which is a lot more out to win and would impart a greater, curvature to the shot. So that would lead to a slice. So work on that, check that, and I'm sure that will help you.
Okay, ma'am, how to increase shoulder movement and stop sliding?
How to increase the shoulder movement and stops. So shoulder movement and sliding are two different things. For shoulder movement, there's a very easy drill that you can do. Just take a club and simply put it across your shoulders and bend forward, get into your golf posture, and then ensure that the left end of the club, when you turn back to the right, it just points down. You may think of an imaginary ball, or if a ball is actually there. So ensure that as you turn and tilt back, that should point to the ball, both while going back and in the downswing. Slide, I think I've already addressed.
Yes. How to have a correct grip?
Sorry. Correct grip, like I was speaking of the knuckles visible on the left hand, left palm. So, whenever you're placing the club, ensure that instead of placing either too much in your palms or too much in your fingers, you start from the base of the fingers, dissect. The club should really dissect the base of the fingers to your palm for your left hand, and simply, and ensuring that this V formed by your index finger and the thumb, it should be somewhere between your right shoulder and the chin. That's something for the left hand, which is really important. And simply, you place your right hand with the let's say this padded part under your right thumb that covers the left thumb, and then you place the fingers on top.
Okay. Going to the next question. Is placing the ball on the tee just behind the right heel and making sure that we don't pivot the heel so that the ball doesn't fall. Is it a good drill for weight shift?
I'll
Weight
just
shift.
read. I'll just try to read. Is the ball is placing the ball on the tee just behind the right heel and making sure that we don't pivot the heel so that the ball doesn't fall. Is it a good drill? Yeah, it is a good drill. It is this is a good drill if you're doing it for the downswing. So to ensure that you're clearing the right foot correctly, getting the weight onto to your toes, and not sort of falling back, or letting your right foot spin out. So yeah, that would help. In long
Next is
game, what should we be focusing on? Whether to focus on the top of the ball or the back of the ball? So in the long game, it's good to focus behind the ball, definitely, not on the ball. And yeah, I think that answers your question. How can we
next is
achieve a consistent backswing speed? So I just mentioned that tempo drill, the 1001, 1002, I think that is really great. Not just the backswing speed, it will ensure that throughout your swing, it is very rhythmic and it will lead to some good ball striking. I think that's it.
Yes, ma'am. Till now, these are the questions.
Okay. We could wait. If anyone of you have any other questions, please feel free to drop in. I'm here to answer. How many junior golfers do we have right here with us on this session? Interlock grip for putting. Well, if it is suiting you, if you are holding enough putts with it, then yes, it's not just good, it's great for you. Because the thing is, our style of gripping in putting is very, very, individualized. So also to the player's feel and to their stroke. So it's no one size fit all. You need to see what's giving you the best results and you stick to that. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, we could wrap up here.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and thank you, ma'am, for your time.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and I wish you all the very best. Happy golfing. Take care, everyone.
Good evening and thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Bye, ma'am.